Right, we're here to talk a bit more about the history of Vietnam. Where we'd left it is the French had left. You guys might have missed a bit of that. And we're at that point. We've talked a little bit about it, haven't we? We're going to talk about the Americans turning up and getting involved now.
We're going to have part 4.
We're going to have part 4, yes.
Which I've never heard.
He's never heard.
And I'm 4 3/4.
And you're 4 3/4 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's ask you a few questions, Charlie, that way. Let's see if you can get it. And my year 11s, the 16-year-olds that I've got tomorrow, I'll ask them, or I'll make them pause the video, or they can think of the answers themselves, and we'll see if Charlie Otway, who's not even 5, can tell you the answers. Are you ready, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the leader of the Vietnamese independence movement? Ho
Chi Minh.
That's right. Now, Ho Chi Minh believed in something. What was Ho Chi Minh?
A communist.
Communist. And what do communists believe?
Sharing.
You have to share all the time. That's right. And which country in the world is really scared, or was really scared, of communism?
The most powerful country in the world.
Yeah, it was the most powerful country in the world. Can you remember which country it was?
America.
Very good. And that is why America went to Vietnam. Because it was really, really scared of communism taking over. Because you remember, which part of Vietnam was communist? Was it the north or the south? It was the north that was communist, and the south wasn't communist. And America wanted to keep the south from not being communist, because what they thought is they believed in something. It's a funny name. They believed in something called the domino theory, which meant they thought if one country became communist, then the next country, and then the next country, and then the next country, and the next country, and the next country would keep turning communist until loads of countries were communist. And America, well, what did they think about communism?
Not good.
Not good. They were scared of it, so they wanted to stop it. And you never guess what Ho Chi Minh did.
What?
He was a monkey. You know what he did?
What?
He sent some of his army to go to South Vietnam and to start to try to make that communist too. Do you remember what his army was called? It was half of the name Vietnam and half of his name.
The gorilla.
Now that's how they fought. Yeah, that's right. But they were called the
Vietnamese.
Very nearly. Oh, that's what the people are called. They're Vietnamese, yeah. But his army was called the Viet Minh. But he changed the name. The name changed of his army to a really funny name when they went to the south. Hiding, which they're good at, aren't they? Because what kind of fighting is it if you do lots of hiding?
Guerrilla fighting.
Guerrilla fighting, that's right. And his army, he called them. Are you ready for this? It's a new one that you're going to have to learn. Is that guerrilla fighting? What are you doing?
Being a gorilla.
Well, his new army was called the Viet Cong.
Viet Cong.
The Viet Cong? That's a silly name, isn't it? And you know what they did? They went down to the south and they attacked anybody who was not a communist, and they were really nice to the people who agreed to be communist. So they would collect their rice in from the fields. You like rice, don't you?
Yeah.
It's one of the things they used to eat a lot of in Vietnam. They would help them out in the villages, but they would also attack people who weren't communist, and that was really bad. So the Americans, do you know what they did to try and help?
What?
They gave the person in charge of South Vietnam loads and loads of money.
Dad?
Yes.
Will you please just tell me for part 4, please?
That's why I'm telling you. This is part 4. I'm telling you what the Americans did. They gave loads of money, like as many as probably 1 million Lego trains.
What?
1 million? No, hold on.
1 million.
More like possibly even 100 million Lego trains. Can you imagine how big they would be? That track would be. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? And that's how much money the Americans were giving to South Vietnam.
Would it be able to go over this house?
What, 100 million Lego trains? The train track would probably go all the way to London.
Oh.
Whoa! The train would run out of batteries before it got there. It would be that big. Isn't that amazing? But Diem, the leader of South Vietnam, do you know what he did? He was supposed to spend it on making South Vietnam a better place, so that people would want to live there and not want to be communist. And also to spend it on soldiers to protect the people. Do you know what he did? Can you guess? Because he was a bit of a baddie. What might a baddie do if you gave them loads of money? And they were supposed to use it to do nice things. What might a baddie do with loads of money instead of nice things?
They'll keep finding more and more money.
And would they give it to people and be nice?
No.
No, and that's what Diem did. He took the money for himself. And the problem was, there was lots of people in Vietnam who he had made in charge of different things, and they were stealing the money too. And so all this money that America was giving, lots of it was being wasted by naughty people instead of being used on the people. Now, if you were from Vietnam, would you rather listen to somebody who was stealing money that was supposed to be for you? Or would you rather listen to people who were coming and saying they were going to help you collect the rice out the fields and that sort of thing?
The rice out the fields?
Of course you would. And who was coming to the south to help the people get the rice out the fields?
I don't know. The goodies.
Well, it's hard to call them the goodies because sometimes they weren't very nice either. But it was Ho Chi Minh's army with the funny name. What were they called?
The
Viet Cong.
Viet Cong.
Do you remember?
Why is it not Viet Minh anymore?
Well, it's kind of the name the Americans gave them. But don't go thinking the Viet Cong were really good, because they did nasty things as well sometimes. It's just if you were Vietnamese, you'd probably prefer them, because they came to help you, so long as you helped them a little bit. And the Americans had another really bad plan. Do you know what their plan was? To stop people from getting attacked by the Viet Cong. What would you do if there was Viet Cong coming to Bramham? What would you do to protect people?
Do you want me to leave it more there?
Thanks, Jack. What would you do if there was people coming to Bramham and you didn't want them to come? Is there anything you could do to stop them?
Start pushing them away.
You could, or you could build something to stop them being able to get in.
A really tall wall.
A really tall wall. And do you know that's what they
Why?
did? Shh.
100
And he's going to bed.
times bigger than a house.
Well, that would be a big wall. And do you know that's what the Americans said? Diem, we're going to give you this money and we're going to send some people who know what to do. And you've got to build these villages with massive walls round the side and big machine guns. And they had a name for these villages. They called them strategic hamlets. But the problem was, they didn't just build them around the villages that were already there. They came along, they built new villages, and they came to people and they said, right, you've got to leave your house and you've got to move long way, and you've got to go live in these new places, these new villages. Now, how would you feel if somebody said, Charlie, Mummy, Daddy, Annie, Nigel, you can't live here anymore. You've got to go live somewhere else and you can't come back. How would you feel?
Sad.
You'd be pretty sad, wouldn't you? Now, they made these villages.
Yeah, I'll bring meat scissors and chop their ears off.
You headbutted me. Well, that's a bit sadistic. But all right then. Well, that's how cross the people in Vietnam were who had to move, and it just made them want to be communist even more. Instead of helping, make them like DM and the Americans. So the Americans started sending more and more soldiers, but they weren't allowed to send soldiers, so they didn't call them soldiers. They called them advisors instead. And that's part 4 of what happened to Vietnam. Is it night, Charlie?
Night, big kids.
Night, big kids. Good boy.